The Frog Prince, a modern twist to a popular fairy tale by Lucy Mitchell. 3 frogs in fairy tale land sat on a lily pad and watched a blonde princess sob loudly on the opposite side of the pond bank. Her long blonde locks hung over her pink tear-stained face. "What's up with her?" croaked Ken the big frog, pointing his fat leg towards the princess. "She's having no luck on the dating front. It's all over Twitter," croaked Eric the spotted frog. "On her royal dating app, she hasn't had any princes wink at her for days, and her kingdom is getting impatient." Vince the small frog croaked, "All a fairy tale kingdom wants to see nowadays is #royal-wedding and #happily ever after." "It's not looking good for her," croaked Eric. "Tough times for our princess, trying to pacify her fairy tale kingdom via Twitter," croaked Vince. Ken shook his frog head disapprovingly before croaking, "Well, she isn't going to find her prince beside this pond." "That's where you are wrong, Ken," croaked Eric. Ken laughed. "I don't see any princes, Eric. Just 3 frogs sat on a lily pad minding their own frog business." "Her last tweet was #desperate, croaked Eric. "She has been forced to turn to that special frog prince tale." "OMG, this is scandalous news. Has she really turned to that special tale?" chirped Vince. Eric the spotted frog nodded. "Yep, she's all over that special tale. The one about the princess who kisses a frog and it magically turns into a handsome prince who marries her." Ken snorted. "Oh, for goodness sake, that is utter rubbish, frogs turning into princes. She has been reading too many fairy tale books." They all took a moment to gaze at the weeping princess. "She looks amazing," croaked Vince, licking his frog mouth with his huge tongue. "She looks like hard work," sighed Ken, watching the blonde princess weep pitifully into her hands. "Think of the bigger picture, Ken," croaked Eric. "With that princess, if you get lucky and become a prince, you get to live in a warm castle with free Wi-Fi and prance about on a white horse. Think of the selfie opportunities." "I'm trying to, Eric. I just think she might be too emotional for my liking," croaked Ken, trying to block out the sobbing noise. "Just lock her away then," piped up Vince. "It has worked well for some fairy tales." The blonde princess stopped sobbing and looked out towards the lily pad. At the side of her was a golden ball, which she raised into the air and threw into the pond. It gave out a large splash and caused the lily pad to dangerously rock and sway. "What is that silly woman doing?" croaked Ken, gripping onto the lily pad. "It's a frog challenge. We have to retrieve her ball, take it to her, and let her kiss us," chirped Eric, watching the ball bob excitedly on the ripples of the pond. Vince the small frog sprang into the air and dived into the water. He grabbed the ball and leapt onto the bank, dropping it at her feet. "Oh, I can't watch Vince make a frog fool of himself," croaked Eric, turning himself around on the lily pad. "She's kissing him," croaked Eric, staring across the pond. Silence followed, and then Eric croaked, "Nope, Vince is not a prince." Loud sobbing filled the air again. The blonde princess took out her gold-encrusted mobile phone and, while struggling for breath, started to tap away on it. "What is she doing now?" asked Ken, turning back round. "She's conducting her prince search live by Twitter. She's tweeting that her first frog didn't turn into a prince," croaked Eric. "No one will favorite or retweet that." Vince climbed back onto the lily pad, hanging his head. "Unlucky," croaked Eric, watching his little forlorn frog friend. "Lucky escape, if you ask me," piped up Ken the big frog. "She's really beautiful close up," croaked Vince, looking back out across the pond at the princess. The sobbing stopped, and the frogs watched as the blonde princess chucked the ball once more into the pond. "I guess it's my turn," croaked Eric the spotted frog before diving into the pond. "I can't watch, Eric. This is painful," croaked Ken, resuming his position on the lily pad. "She is wasting her time kissing frogs." "Unlucky Eric," croaked Vince, watching Eric the spotted frog climb back onto the lily pad. "I see she is tweeting again," croaked Ken. "Doubt she will get any retweets about kissing a second frog and getting nothing. Bet she is being unfollowed by her entire kingdom," croaked Eric. Vince turned to grin at Ken. "It's your turn." "I am not doing it. I am not a prince. I don't have prince qualities. I am a bit grumpy. And I am not on Twitter." "Not on Twitter? Blimey, even those evil ogres up the mountain are tweeting like crazy," chirped Vince. "Oh no, she's walking around the pond. She's coming for you, Ken. Hold still," croaked Eric. "This is ridiculous. Why can't I just be left alone on my lily pad?" croaked Ken the big frog. The princess bent over the lily pad and grabbed Ken, who screamed loudly. Vince and Eric laughed as they watched the princess raise Ken to her pouted red lips. A kissing sound filled the air. Nothing happened. Ken croaked for joy as he leapt out of the blonde princess's clutches and dived onto the lily pad. Loud sobbing filled the air as the blonde princess sat down to weep. #epic fail for our princess. Something tells me she won't be tweeting about her third frog kiss failure, croaked Eric. #nightmare, croaked Vince. Suddenly there was a loud bang, some purple smoke, and Ken the big frog turned into a handsome prince who fell into the pond tipping up the lily pad. The blonde princess stared in shock and grabbed her phone. Ken, the now handsome prince, waded out of the pond with half a lily pad stuck to his head. "My prince! I knew it would work!" she exclaimed, leaping up and throwing her arms around him. "I am not very happy about this," he grumbled. "Hang on, my handsome prince. Let me just tweet about this magical fairy tale moment. Royal wedding sorted. #Frog Prince." Hello and welcome to No Extra Words, the Flash Fiction Podcast. My name is Chris Baker-Dersch. I'm your producer and editor. As this episode is being released, I am at the lake with my family enjoying my vacation. I hope that wherever you are this summer, you are enjoying your time as well. It seemed like exactly the right time in the summer to do all of those light, fluffy, funny, silly stories. So that's what today is all about, starting with The Frog Prince. If you are not following Lucy Mitchell's blog at blondewritemore.wordpress.com, you're totally missing out. I think it is the funniest writer blog happening online right now. So go follow her right away if you need that kind of laugh. She's awesome. Thank you so much, Lucy, for sharing. Coming up, the 18 Facebook statuses of a relationship. No, this story is not calling anyone out. No, it's not a true story. But it is the way that we all observe everybody else's relationships online now. So over 7 weeks and 18 Facebook status relationships, you are going to follow one person's love and heartbreak in the 21st century. So The Frog Prince was happening live on Twitter. The 18 Facebook statuses of a relationship is happening on Facebook. Just a quick podcast note, we are in the middle of a challenge to the listeners. That is on the website, noextrawords.wordpress.com. We as a country are having an interesting conversation this summer about symbols and what happens when old symbols like the Confederate flag still exist all these years later. And so when the story we are going to play in episode 8 came across my radar screen, it seemed a very timely story. It is about that exact issue of these relics of another time and how do they play in this modern world. So one of them is standing in Seattle, in the Fremont neighborhood of Seattle. It is a statue of Lenin. That's Vladimir, not John. It was rescued, as I understand it, from a communist slag heap after the fall of the Iron Curtain, and now it sits in Seattle. And as you can imagine, everybody has an opinion about whether it should be there and what it means and all of those things. So what I'm asking my listeners to do is to take whatever emotion that inspires in you and turn it into a story. A story is not an internet comment. There are lots of places where you can get on and say, I like this, I don't like this, this is why. This isn't one of them. I'm asking you to take that a step further and turn whatever that makes you feel into a story. Give it a narrative arc. Give it plot points. Your limit is 500 words. If you've never written a story before, give it a try. I think you'll be amazed at what you come up with. Any way that you have of getting a hold of us, you can send it in noextrawords@gmail.com. Our listener feedback line is 425-686-9495. You can also hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. Those links are at noextrawords.wordpress.com. Or just leave it in the comments of the Challenge to Listeners blog post. Would love to hear what you have to say. 500 words is your limit. You don't have to use that many. If you heard last week's episode on microfiction, you can make it 25 or 16 or whatever works for you. August 11th is the deadline for those, and I'm hoping to share a couple of them in that episode 8. Episode 8 should be an interesting conversation. But in the meantime, we are live on social media today, Love and Heartbreak in the 21st Century, so I'm going to take you to the 18 Facebook statuses of a relationship. I hope you're enjoying your summer, and I will check in with you soon. Have a great couple weeks. The 18 Facebook Status Updates of a Relationship by Chris Baker-Dersch. Thursday. Jen Smith is at City Stadium. Happy to be here to watch the Tornadoes play. Haven't done this since I was a kid. Friday. Jen Smith. So much fun with old friends last night, and met some new ones too, with Kristen Sutter, Emily Marshall, Pete Anderson, Toby Carter. Friday. Jen Smith is feeling spacey. Sunny Fridays make it impossible to concentrate on work. Sunday. Jen Smith is at Tony's with Emily Marshall, Claire Duncan, and Amy Vu. Girls' night moved to Girls' Sunday brunch, mimosas, and gossip. Thursday. Jen Smith is at Henderson Family Putt-Putt. I suck at mini golf. Why did I let you bring me here? With Toby Carter. Saturday. Jen Smith. Jamming to feel-good tunes in the car radio. Traffic jams aren't so bad. Tuesday. Jen Smith is watching The Princess Bride. Movie night. Have to catch some people up on movies they've never seen. With Toby Carter. Friday. Jen Smith is in a relationship with Toby Carter. Monday. Jen Smith. Love it when my guy surprises me at work and takes me to lunch with Toby Carter. Monday. Facebook is not telling Jen Smith that 7 girlfriends have blocked her from their newsfeed. Sunday. Jen Smith. Should I get a puppy? Discuss. Comment by Emily Marshall. Your apartment is pretty small. Do you have time for a puppy? Comment by Jen Smith. Puppies are adorable, and I would have help. I've been waiting and waiting to get a puppy. Thursday. Jen Smith shared. I am the cuddler. I like long walks on the beach and to be snuggled up on the couch for movie night. Lots of romance and plenty of together time. Click here to find out who you are in a relationship. Friday. Jen Smith is feeling sad. People disappoint me. Sometimes we move to different phases in life, and sometimes it strains friendships. Sunday. Jen Smith. Brunch with the girls helps me sort it all out. Tuesday. Jen Smith is at the Wedding Expo with Tiffany Parker. Helping out the bride. Excited to see all this cool stuff. Wednesday. Jen Smith is feeling blue. Life's best moments are always followed by its suckiest. Thursday. Jen Smith is single. Friday. Jen Smith. Headed out to meet some buddies at the West End Cafe and have my lucky skirt on. Here's to being young and single. Saturday. Jen Smith is feeling spacey with Doug Moore. Sunday. Facebook doesn't tell Jen Smith it hopes her buddy list survives this next relationship. And so it goes.